Syrian Christians under fire. Who will protect them? Tragedy has struck this ancient Christian community once again. Just days ago, an armed jihadist opened fire and detonated a suicide vest at St. Elias Church on the outskirts of Damascus, where Christians had gathered for worship. 24 people were killed, leaving the Christian community in mourning and shock. This raises an important question. Was this a rare occurrence, or is the threat of annihilation for Syria's Christian minority growing? Will Ahmed Al-Shara's HTS government make a difference? What more can be done to protect Christians from persecution and atrocities like the recent incident in Damascus? The future of Syria and the potential impact of its new government on the country's Christians were topics of discussion at a recent Coptic Solidarity panel held in Washington, D.C. Several prominent U.S. and Syrian analysts provided compelling insights during this event. Creating a stable Middle East necessitates the protection of ancient minority faith communities. This week, I wanted to share some of the key points from that discussion. First up was David Schenker, former U.S. Assistant Secretary of State for Near Eastern Affairs, who now serves as a senior fellow and director of the program on Arab politics at the Washington Institute. He noted that while the Assad regime had a relatively benign approach to religious minorities, Assad was responsible for the deaths of 500,000 Syrians and drove 12 million people into exile, many of whom were Christians. So what about Ahmed Al-Sharaa, the new leader of Syria? Can the former al-Qaeda operative and founder of the militant Islamic group al-Nusra be trusted to better protect Syria's religious minorities, especially Christians?
Now, Al-Sharaa himself may turn out to be a wolf in sheep's clothing, but he said a lot of the right things to date. He's met with U.S. congressmen who left the meetings reassured, or at least optimistic, that the new government is pragmatic and might be tolerant, and that there will be some respect for human rights and religious freedom. The Republicans, more than the Democrats, were very optimistic about the trajectory of Syria under Al-Sharaa. But some of the things that are happening really do not inspire confidence. We saw the massacre of Alawites. Former regime members have been targeting the Druze community. We've seen members of designated U.S. designated terrorist organizations that perpetrated atrocities against Kurds being assigned as senior-level military officers in Hasaka, in Kurdish areas.
Can a leopard truly change his spots? National security and foreign affairs analyst Ryan Mauro is an investigative researcher at the Capital Research Center, where he covers extremist groups. He asserts that Western governments often face difficult choices once a dictator is overthrown. Following the removal of Bashar al-Assad from power, American officials and media members quickly promoted Ahmed Al-Sharaa to fill the leadership void in Syria.
Maybe there's some incentives that will make him not be as horrible. We should welcome that. Always welcome things that go in the right direction. Positive reinforcement is important. But that doesn't mean you have to capitulate to a terrorist who, frankly, I'm not even sure he's going to be there in power in a few years. I mean, I'm hearing people talk about this interim government as if they won an election already and are going to be in power for 20 years, so you better deal with them and accept them. Well, what is his political constituency? Can anybody tell me? Because the al-Qaeda type Salafists hate him because he, to his credit, his forces after he left al-Qaeda did fight an al-Qaeda affiliate there, so they don't like him. He's not extreme enough. The other Salafists will, and he's a Salafist himself, will call him an apostate who deserves death because he is participating in democracy and elections, and he calls it democracy, and that's a man-made process. The punishment for that is death. All right, so he lost that constituency. So who's left? Oh, the Muslim Brotherhood? You know, maybe he's moving in that direction because it's been so successful. No, they're not going to accept him either because he's talking about normalizing ties with Israel, and even if it's a trick, he's gone way too far. He's taken a step beyond what they would even say is permissible by deception. And all of a sudden, it's all this optimistic talk, and it's being obscured by groups, particularly 501c3 nonprofits in the United States, who are giving Ahmed Al-Sharaa the fastest makeover of a public figure I have ever seen in my career of over 20 years. I never thought I would come to a day where a former leader of an al-Qaeda branch in Syria with maybe hours difference between when he was officially Al-Qaeda and no longer was, could suddenly be celebrated as a guy who saw the light. Come on, Hollywood studios for celebrities can't pull that off. They usually have to go away for a while and then come back.
Up next, Syrian Christians have faced killings and persecution by militant Islamists and even Kurds in northeast Syria. They do not believe that the new Syrian government will protect them.